Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be using our quick mixes that we made in a previous video. We have our gingerbread and our quick bread mix, and we're going to be using those to get some holiday baking done today. The first thing we're going to bake today are going to be some ginger snaps, and to do that we're going to use 2.5 cups of our gingerbread mix. We're going to use a 1/2 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of molasses, and 1 egg. The first thing we're going to do is measure out our gingerbread mix. Now, when I made the video talking about the mix, and we talked about the difference between sifted and unsifted flour, I said when you measure this out, you want to measure it out without packing it down. You want to just do a light pour when you measure it. So what I'm doing is I am just putting it in, just pouring it in lightly. All I'm going to do is lightly spread this out. And we're looking for about 2.5 cups. We're at about 2 1/4. So I'm just going to add now by the spoonful. And I'm just going to sprinkle it across the top until I get what looks like 2.5 cups. There's about 2.5. Let's see if we level that out. That looks good, and I love this measuring cup because I can see from the top where my measurements are. So we'll get that poured in to our bowl. Then we're going to add our 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm going to just stir those together. So that those are thoroughly mixed. There we go, and now we're going to add our 1 egg, and we're going to add 1/4 cup of molasses. Now, optional when you're making these cookies is to, once we've got this dough all made and then we're going to refrigerate it for a bit, you can also have some more sugar set aside, and I'll show you in a little while what that is for. But the next step is to get this all mixed together to form a nice dough. And let me get started on that, and I'll be back as soon as I have it all mixed together. Now that we have this formed into a nice dough, and you can see how it just breaks apart, what we're going to do is form this into a ball, and then we're just going to put this into the refrigerator for about 20 minutes or so to allow it to firm up a little bit, and I'll be back for the next step. I just took the dough out of the refrigerator. It's been cooling for about 20 minutes or so. And I also grabbed a little bowl. I put 2 tablespoons of sugar in this, and we're on to our next step of actually making our cookies. So I'm going to use that same tablespoon that I used for the sugar, and I'm just going to scoop out little balls of dough, and then you just roll them to kind of make a ball like that. And then I always grew up with my mom rolling our sugar cookies and our Gingersnap cookies in sugar like that before she put them in the oven. Now that is optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want as much sugar. With this dough, the other thing that is nice, once you've cooled it, you can also take and put a mat out and use a rolling pin, roll it out flat, and use cookie cutters to cut out your gingerbread cookies with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep making these little balls. I'm going to keep rolling them in the sugar, and I'm going to place them on my cooking sheet, which I also put parchment paper on, and I'll be back as soon as I get this tray full. I ended up getting 15 cookies onto this sheet. Now these cookies are going to flatten out as they bake, so you want to make sure you leave some room in between them, unless you don't mind them hugging each other as they bake and needing to cut them apart. But if you want nice round cookies, make sure you leave them with a little bit of space. This used maybe about half of our dough, So once this batch is done, I'll be making another batch and getting it in the oven. But right now, I'm gonna be putting this into the oven. Now, if you're using a regular electric or gas oven, you're gonna be setting that preheated to 375 degrees. Gonna put the tray in for 10 to 12 minutes. I'm putting this in my wood cook oven, which is at about 375 degrees, so I'll be doing it for that same amount of time, like I said, about 10 to 12 minutes. And as soon as they're done, I'll show you what they look like. It's been just over 10 minutes, so we're gonna check the cookies. And they look awesome. So we're gonna get these out onto the table. You can tell that they've cracked on the top. You can see the sugar kind of glistening, and we're gonna get these out so we can get them on a rack and get the next batch put in so that we can get those baked as well. I'm going to let these cool for just a few minutes before I take them off the tray and put them onto the rack. Now, I have already all set, ready to go as soon as I clear the tray. Another 13 to go into the oven. So we got just over 2 dozen cookies from this. Now, depending on the size that you make is going to determine how many cookies you get, but I'd say around 2 dozen, 2.5 dozen from this. Now, if you were to roll these out and make your regular like gingerbread men or stars or Christmas trees for the holidays, the amount you get is going to be based on the size of the cookie cutter that you use. So when you've used the recipe, it's a good thing to make your own notes based on the size cookie you like, so you know how many cookies you're going to get for the next batch. So as soon as these are cooled, I'm going to put the other ones onto this parchment paper, get them in the oven, and get them baked. And when they're all done, I'll be back so that we can do a taste test. Cookies are all out of the oven, and what is a cooking or baking recipe without a taste test? So I kidnapped Steve. I had to twist his arm to get him to come try a cookie. So he gets a cookie, I get a cookie, and we're gonna see how these are. So with milk, with coffee, so not super hard. So depending if you like a super crunchy or you like a soft cookie. So I'm not going to dip mine, I'm just going to try it.
I'm a dipper. Awesome. Awesome. We have these every year, and although you can have them any time of the year, I'd say this is Christmas. I have these, and that's what I think of. Christmas cookies. Eating so much I get acid.
They are very good. If you have your favorite Christmas cookie recipe or your secret ginger snap recipe and you want to leave a message for us in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. These cookies are a favorite with us. So now that we have this done, it's going to be time to move on to making a recipe with our quick bread mix. For our quick bread mix recipe, we're going to be making some chocolate chip muffins. So we'll be using our quick bread mix, some sugar, some water, 1 egg, some butter, and some mini chocolate chips. To make the muffins, we're going to add 2 cups of our quick bread mix. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to give that a little stir to mix the sugar in with the quick bread mix. Then, as I had mentioned in the quick bread mix recipe, because this quick bread mix is made with a powdered milk, I'm going to be using water. So I'm going to be adding in 2/3 of a cup of water, and I'm going to be adding in 1 well-beaten egg. We've got the egg and the water in. I'm going to give that just a little stir. I'm not going to fully mix it because next I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So we've got our butter in. Now we're going to stir that all together. And once I have that mixed together, then we're going to add in our mini chocolate chips. And you can see how quick that comes together, very fast. So let me add in our mini chocolate chips. I'm using about 1/4 cup. You can use more or less. Now this is a recipe that you can add in blueberries, or you could make them like cinnamon raisin muffins. You could make a crumble topping for it if you chose. Okay, so there is our mix, and now it's time to get in our tray and to see how many muffins this mix makes. I'm using just a standard muffin tin tray here, and you could line this with paper cups. You could grease the inside of it with whatever you normally use. I used a little bit of butter spray since these are just a plain muffin with the chocolate chips. I thought that would add a nice little flavor to it. So let's see how many muffins we get out of this. So it tells you in the recipe that you're going to fill each of these tins, muffin tins, each cup about 2/3 full. So let's see. If we go 2/3 full, add a little bit more. We'll see if we're going to get a full dozen. That's what I'm hoping to make today. So if this doesn't actually fill all the tins, I may end up making another batch. But let me get these tins filled, and I'll come back and we'll see how much we ended up with. Well, we ended up with 10 of our muffin tins filled, about 2/3 of the way. I may have been a little generous, so this may actually do the full 12 medium-sized muffins. What I did for the 2 cups that didn't have the muffin mix in them, because I had already sprayed them, I put a little bit of water in the bottom of each so that that butter does not burn down. Only thing you have to be careful if you do something like that is make sure when you take this pan out that you don't get that hot water spilled on you. Now my wood cook oven is already hot. We're going to be baking these for about 20 minutes at 425 degrees. So let me get these into the oven and we'll see what they look like when they're done. We're at the halfway point, so I'm going to give the muffins a little bit of a spin. As you can see, they're rising up nice. And I'm being careful since I added that water to those other 2 empty cups. So let's let these finish up and we'll see what they look like when they're done. Our 20 minutes is up and the muffins are looking awesome. So let's get these over to the table and we'll take them out and see how they came out. The muffins look and smell delicious, and now it's time for me to get them out of the muffin tin and onto the cooling rack. To do that, I like to use actually an orange peeler. Now on the orange peelers, one end has the piece that you score the orange with, and then the other end that you put underneath the orange rind to peel it off. I like that curved piece to get down around the muffins and lift them out. And with it being a plastic, I don't have to worry about it scratching a nonstick pan. It does make it a little easier to lift them out. Muffins came out nice and light on the bottom. Now these are a smaller or what they call a medium-sized muffin. If you wanted a bigger, thicker muffin, you could make a double batch and put a little more batter in to each of your muffin tins. If you wanted to make the extra large muffins, that would be something to experiment with. But these actually look awesome. So let me get the rest of these out of the tray and then we'll give one a taste. So the moment of truth, let's break one of these in half. They're super soft and the insides are nice and fluffy. So let's try a bite. They're good muffins. Personally, I think I would like to add a crumble topping with this. I think that would take it up even another notch. Doing these, like I said before, with a blueberry or strawberry or cranberry and maybe some white chocolate chip with the cranberry. This is a very versatile mix that allows you to make all different kinds of muffins. So if you like this video, you'd like to see more videos of this type, make sure you leave us a comment, let us know, and give us a thumbs up. Let us know you like the video, share our video with your friends, and until next time everybody, take care.